Head on over to the App Store for your 4th of July sales. Apple's iOS Beta 2 gets released for a share of cool and not so cool things, and rumors of the iPhone 3GS sticking around for another year. All this and more coming up right now. Hello everybody, I'm Jaime Rivera and welcome to the Pocketnow iReview, the show we go through all this week's cool and the not so cool inside the world of Apple's iOS devices. Let's start this week off with the cool. Well, the 4th of July is almost here, and along with fireworks, we also get some really good deals just about everywhere, and yeah, that includes Apple's App Store. EA, Gameloft, and other companies have already set their titles to 99 cents a piece, and that includes popular games like Nova 2, FIFA 11, Madden, Need for Speed, and a lot of board games. So if you're interested, head on over to the App Store. We also posted that on Pocketnow.com recently, and if anybody's interested in a Nova multiplayer, hey, send me a tweet. Well, the iPhone just turned 4 years old this week, and you'd wonder how things have changed in the industry in the past 4 years ever since it was released. Before the iPhone was released, things like, for example, kinetic scrolling, WebKit browsers, and even capacitive glass displays, and the whole idea of using your fingers to control your device were actually unheard of. Everybody was moving to QWERTY keyboards as BlackBerry was the king back then, and Nokia was also the king of feature phones. So it's really interesting to see how things have evolved and changed over time. We now have even tablets that use the OS. And well, it's just to say happy birthday iPhone, and let's hope September brings something better than what we currently have. Rumors have it that suppliers are already preparing to begin manufacturing the iPhone 5, 4S, or whatever it's going to be called for September release. DigiTimes is reporting that Foxconn has already begun preparing their factories to work on the next generation iPhone and apparently another device for a September release. Now, a lot of speculation out there has that Apple's working on a cheaper iPhone. Others have been mentioning that Apple's working on an iPad 3 with higher resolution to be released with the next generation iPhone, but people forget that Apple releases the iPod Touch every September, so most likely we'll get just the next generation iPhone and the next generation iPod Touch for September being released. And well, there's going to be a lot of talk about that in the not so cool section also. Well, iOS 5 Beta 2 has just been released to developers, but you'd ask, why did we leave this for last and close to the not so cool section? Well, Wi-Fi sync is now available. You can just set it up on iTunes, and as long as iTunes detects your iOS device being charged within the same wireless network, it'll sync your device. Aside from that, over-the-air updates are now available and active, though you won't get any right now, and it seems to also be working through 3G, which is really cool. Then iCloud is now working with backups. In the past, it wasn't really working. Now really backs up your device, though it's not as quick as we'd want. And well, Apple has also brought Notification Center to keep your calendar available all the time. Really cool, but then again, a lot of other things really went bad, so let's talk about that in the not so cool section. Well, that is it for the cool. Let's continue on with the not so cool. What's wrong with iOS 5 Beta 2? Just about everything. I'd call this the buggiest beta release that Apple has ever sent to developers. First of all, FaceTime doesn't work. You'd wonder why. It has pretty much nothing to do with the enhancements that you get, but it's completely deactivated, and Apple hasn't really said why. Aside from that, well, iTunes syncing over Wi-Fi is not really working. iTunes is always looking for a file out there that it can't find, so every time you want to sync, it'll tell you it can't because it can't find the file, and then you have to connect your device to pretty much sync. That's not Wi-Fi sync, Apple. And well, Apple's currently been tweaking Notification Center over and over again. They're bringing new things that look like notifications in the past, at least in the lock screen, so not really sure we're enjoying these changes. Again, Apple, go back to the drawing board, and how about if you bring us Beta 3 or release candidate Goldmaster 1 just about next week? That'll sound really cool. But wait, there's more. iOS 5 Beta 2 is not good news at all for the jailbreak community. First of all, the GEVEY SIM Card exploit has been blocked, so now you can't unlock your device with the GEVEY SIM Card after iOS 5 Beta 2. Not sure what to expect after the full release. Aside from that, Apple has also figured out how to block your ability to bring your device back to a previous iOS release by saving your SSH blobs, so that's not really cool if you want to jailbreak your device. And well, the dev team has even been blogging about the fact that Apple also figured out how to block the untethered jailbreaks, for good. Not really sure what to expect after iOS 5 gets released, so everybody's worried. It seems that only the Line Marine exploit will work and through a tethered jailbreak, so again, not good news. Rumors, rumors, rumors. Something smells really fishy about the fact that iOS 5 almost fully supports the iPhone 3GS. It wasn't the same story with iOS 4 coming through the 3GS because according to Apple, the hardware just didn't support it. So everybody's mentioning out there that Apple's working on leaving the iPhone 3GS for an additional year being sold as the free device. You'll probably get it free on contract and really cheap for those prepaid customers out there. You'll probably get the iPhone 4 as the budget device that'll cost you $99 and, just a cheap contract. And then you'll get the iPhone 5 or 4S as the flagship device from Apple. You'll get 3 iPhones, but then again, it's technology that's almost 3 years old. I don't think any manufacturer leaves a smartphone for 3 years, so not really sure what to make of it, but it's really not cool that Apple's not bringing more devices to the table. Competition's fierce, and it's just interesting how Apple works in handling competition by releasing one device. Not really sure what to expect. That's it for today's show. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Jaime Rivera. Remember to give us a thumbs up if you like what you saw. That's it for now.